tumultuous. But we were both. No, Frank, you had to watch him. Now where are we now? It's your mother.
Well, they didn't seem
Mary
normal.
used to complain because on rare occasions they bring Frank up to stay with us in Kingsbury. And your mother was wary of him. He was a bit of a groper, maybe probably he was frustrated, but in a way. But he was a bit of a groper, so you used to watch it. You never got any inkling of this, did you?
Not at all. Well,
No.
there was something.
Yeah.
Mother never spoke about it. I know there was a.
So it was a bit sad, a bit
problem.
sore.
Did Hilda speak of it?
Not that I
know Mum
I
had
can remember going with Nan and Grandad and sitting in the car when they went to visit Charles. What age I was, I don't know.
I don't know when they died. But then we had Kate, who married William.
No, I remember that. I can tell you things.
Auntie Kate lived in Kenton.
I can tell you things about this. Now, where are we now? What was the bit I was going to say? Frank and Charles. No, I missed that bit. Something I was going to say about it.
This is all good family history this time.
Frank did die at Gallywood, I think. Because he did work, full time. You remember they used to trudge all the way up there, that track, then down the road, then up to Noon's farm, all that business. But Charles could only help occasionally, I think, like that. He wasn't, because he was more of an epileptic, wasn't he? Yeah. I used to find him quite peaceable. He was very interested in cigarette cards.
Would you say they were simple? The two of them? I mean, epilepsy is just, it's a normal condition, isn't it? But
He was...
Nowadays, yes, because they've got the.
But did they seem simple to you?
Frank he alternated between being oversexed, I suppose, or you had to watch me, groping like that, and being religious. He was over the top with it. It was weird, it was like two sides of a coin. But Charles was just sort of steady, bit short-tempered, but you never knew when something was going to... So we kids, we lived in fear, in a way, what was going to happen. And you knew that he was going to have an attack. He would start to shake. I never seen anything of it since like that.
So you're short-tempered, but that could have been frustration.
Yeah. So he was quite short-tempered. But when he was all, when he wasn't having an attack or something like that, I got on quite well with him. And he collected cigarette cards, and I collected cigarette cards. And we used to pinch each other's. When I think about it now, funny that. We're also interested in collecting old coins.
Me too.
And I did have one of these very heavy coins from about the 18th century, which was about a quarter of an inch thick.
1797, tuppeny piece.
And I swear that he whipped that one.
I've got one.
But I think I whipped something from some of his stuff. We used to raid each other's collections. Funny that. But I got on well with him. He was quite all right. But Frank was a fanatic, and he knew that he... Well, I mean, you can't blame, I suppose. Men have natural instincts, and I suppose if they're not married and they're not any way of indulging it, I can understand that.
But they're still dangerous.
It's hard on the kids, though. Any kids who come into contact with them. But you see, that's right. That's what I was going to try and say. Mum, she just to get things tidy, she'd say, Charles is for Hilda, or Hilda is for Charles, and Mary is for Frank. So Hilda got on all right with Charles, there's no demands made. But Frank, being a sort of a groper, obviously your mother didn't exactly take to him.
Spoke in detail.
You could talk to Charles about things, but But I don't remember having a conversation with Frank.
So then there was Kate, then Edgar.
Yeah. So there were five boys and three girls.
The boys were Herbert, Charles, Frank, Edgar, and Harvey.
There may have been
Harvey.
others. There may have been
yeah.
miscarriages and things like that.
Well, on the census records they said they had 12 children, but 4 had died. So there were 8
that's
children.
it then. That is the link. 5 plus 3.
Yes, I've got 8 there. So what about Harvey then? Or Jack?
They called him Harvey, but his name, we used to call him Jack for short. I don't know why, but Harvey is a bit of a posh name, isn't it?
It is really.
Yeah, Jack. He was the good-looking one. They looked upon him as, you know, in the class of cricket fans then. He was very interested in cricket. So I suppose he was one of the most intelligent ones of them.
What,
There was
because he
Edgar.
was interested in cricket? Doesn't work
No,
like that, Tom.
he was an interesting person, you know. He was more about.
Yeah.
I suppose because if you're in demand for the girls, I
He was
suppose it
more
makes you more
gregarious.
alert.
More
You
gregarious.
don't hug the shadows.
So you probably took after him.
Yeah. There was Uncle Edgar, who had very poor eyesight. I can see him now trying to read like this. He'd come and sit on one of those chairs, you know, that Christopher was whittled, you know. I could see him sitting at the edge there trying to read something. He'd stagger up from Shelbourne and come up to have a meal with Gran, like that. And he was married to Kate. Who was married to Billy Stout? No, that was Kate.
No,
She hardly had any
Herbert
teeth.
was married to Kate. Bert. Now he was the old contemptible, wasn't he? As far as I can see. He went
Yeah,
to war.
Uncle Bert, he was bright.
He joined
come
up. He
Yeah,
joined the
he came up
military.
and see. He came up and seen us once. Who have I been talking to? He came up and saw us once, visited, and he was full of these. He was quite funny describing it. You know, these different changes he had to make. I how he managed to make it up from Wiltshire, rural Wiltshire, to Kingsbury, but he did it. And the way he described the journey was quite amusing because he kept saying, so I got here and he said, and I says to myself, Bert, I says to myself, I says I, and he'd go through all this. It was quite funny to us kids.
But he was
He was the-
expeditionary forces going
Yeah,
in 1914.
I'm proud of it. I boast about it. And I've got a photograph, you know, I've got one this side, a folder, with all these different photographs. Granddad in his spiked helmet. And I always say, look, you can tell the family hands. 'Cause your mother used to go on about the square fingers. It showed up. Because Granddad's standing there in a spiked helmet with these two wads of fingers, like that. Yes, he was the old contemporary, I'm very proud of it. But I never knew anything about it.
But you've got a picture of him, have you? I'd love to see that.
I've got a, yeah. Was he a crack shot? I never knew. I got some feeling that he was known to be a crack shot with a rifle.
Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah.
But he was
That's Tom Bowley.
he was invalided
That's
out
Brown,
in 1915.
He was what?
He was invalided out in
I
1915.
didn't know there again. I didn't know
But
that.
there he was. He was there on the front line in
You're a very
1914.
welcome inventory of all this information. I don't
No,
know.
I've been looking into it. So
I can't-
only
I
recently,
can't
this
find
past,
out. You know, I don't know these things. There's no one to
this
ask.
past week, I can send you his war record because I've got because he was pensioned and he names his children
God.
because the military needed to know.
Invalidated out.
In 1915, he had chest problems.
Would it have
And
been
they said it-
mustard gas or?
Well, they say it was attributable to his service.
Yeah.
So he
And
didn't
mustard
stay in.
gas was.
But he signed up in 1908, so he became a regular soldier,
Yeah, yeah.
and because of that, he was.
He
there-
signed in 1908.
He
I didn't
signed-
realise he'd been that long.
Yeah, well,
really.
he signed up as a soldier at the age of 18, and I know he's 5'5" and
1908. You say
134
he
pounds.
started in uniform in 1908.
Yeah,
That's what he must have been a crack shot then. He must have learned to do that right.
can't remember.
So he's in the old contemporary, I'm told. But I don't know if he saw any action. Did
Oh
he
yes, he
stand
did.
there?
Yes, he saw action. Oh, he was there, and
Yeah.
I've got some interesting facts about.
But we
him.
hear so much about Dunkirk
No. This was
and
First
how we
World
threw,
War.
leaving all the stuff behind.
No, this was First World War. So
Yeah, I realise
yeah.
that. But you can't help but draw parallels. Well, I draw parallels with it. In that Second World, they pulled out and they left all this material. At that time, I still think, God, how could they leave all that?
I've
But I
got his
suppose to
words
save their lives.
that he said. They were saying, "How
Yeah.
are you? How are they treating you, son?" And he says, "Well, no worse than anybody else." He didn't want special treatment.
No.
So it's an interesting narrative that I've got there in his army records, and it's got all his medals and whatever, which hopefully
But
stayed in the family.
But wasn't it a similar, a sort of parallel with the Second Great War? The fact they had to withdraw quite quickly. They'd taken on too much.
Well,
No, well, they
misjudged-
didn't land enough people. The
misjudged
Germans
the
overwhelmed
situation.
them
Yeah.
in the First War.
I haven't thought to bring any.
But I don't know whether he actually faced the enemy. I don't know anything about that. Did
Oh
he
yes,
say
he
it?
faced the enemy.
Or did they get them out quickly before?
Well, the British Expeditionary Forces were into Belgium, weren't they? Which was first invaded.
They did fight for a while, didn't they?
They were right in there.
There was a conflict.
Oh no, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. He took. In fact, I think he took a bullet. I think he was wounded.
I know nothing about
I didn't think to bring this. To be honest, I didn't know we were going to do this today. So.
How come my mother didn't know this? Didn't have any of this?
Yeah, it's an interesting war record.
But they don't talk about it, Tom.
No, don't.
If you wanted to look at it, we can look at it now, but you'd have to go on to. You'd have to sign on to ancestry.com.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it. I
You
say,
can pick that up now if you want to
Yeah.
do it. But
if someone ever came on about, German name and all that sort of thing like that, I'd say, steady on.
no,
You know,
Uncle Bert was one of the old Contemptibles.
I had an uncle in the Old Contemptibles. My father joined straight away at the age of 15, was it?
I don't know. I don't know when he joined up.
He
He was in the
too
Royal
young.
Middlesex. I've got a picture of him in the Royal
Yeah.
Middlesex
And
Regiment.
do you remember him saying he was put on a charge because they reckoned he shaved his upper lip. He couldn't grow a moustache any more than I could. And he was supposed to grow a moustache then.
I know that's the different family, but that's the Pickelhuber.
Yeah, I can pick all these out. Yeah, there's Grandad. You see his ham of a hand.
Can I show you the picture of him in the regiment? Because his face, you can spot him
My
in
father?
the whole crowd. No, it's not that
Mein
one.
father?
Your father.
I love that father, the way they say father. You can't help but laugh when you're a kid, can you?
Dein Vater.
When they pronounce a relation as a...
That's
Oh, yeah, I've got that one.
yeah.
He looks very young.
But
He looks about half the age of
his
anybody else
face just
there.
looks to me like Trudy, and
You can't see a moustache, can you, there?
I do.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
But that's what he said. He seemed to be proud of that. He was put on a charge because they reckoned he'd shaved his upper lip. Because he couldn't grow much, any more than I could at first.
I thought you had to get
No,
permission
must
to
have.
grow a moustache.
Yeah.
Permission to grow a moustache, yes, but providing it shows within 14 days or something. I think
Something like that,
they
yeah.
gave you 14 days. If it wasn't up to much, they'd get you to shave it off again. That's what I understood,
Oh,
but
is that what it
that
was?
may be in a later
So there was some logic
conflict.
to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it didn't look good, then
Yeah.
He got as far as being a corporal. I mean, I think they would have, because he would speak to maybe a higher standard than some people around. I don't know.
so he's
I thought maybe that's why they would have made him a corporal.
so he's top left there, and he looks very much like. Well,
So at least that's one stage, two stages, isn't it?
and that's
Lance
the Middlesex
corporal.
Regiment infantry.
Yeah. Where?
Middlesex Regiment in the infantry. So that's what it says here. That's what's on the
But
back
you-
of the postcard.
To my memory, he was associated with the Huntingdon Regiment
Well,
for a while.
it's
Maybe that
what's
was
written
later.
on the back of the postcard
Yeah.
that I've got. So I've only reproduced
Yeah.
that. He could have changed. He could have changed regiments. So
But there's different things like that you haven't, whether you mention or you know them. His father, Grandad Erdmann Voss,
he was a
he worked
hairdresser.
for 2 years in somewhere in Yorkshire. Was it Leeds?
It was Lincoln.
I've ever shown you, I suppose it's brass of some kind, I don't think it's actual gold, something presented to him by his grateful students he used to teach. So maybe he was maybe he was doing hairdressing or something there, but also he was lecturing students. And this was presented there. Have I ever shown you this? I'll pass it
don't
to you
think
so
so.
you look after it, yeah.
I've got an advertisement that I'm sure you've seen for the family.
It's not anything you can wear around your wrists or anything like that. You know.
Oh, here we are. Private Unterrichte im praktischen Faden. This is an advert for Edmund Voss. That's a hairdresser.
Yeah.
That's his name.
I have got
So
these.
that's all in-
I think you've let me copies of
That's
it.
all in German.
Yeah. No, I can't. I wish I could.
But he was obviously
love the
practicing in
words.
Germany then.
Yeah.
It's a man's... Whereas French to me is feminine. It's all soft stuff and
I
similar.
love it.
It's strange that. German to me is
Yeah.
man's thing,
Exact.
you know.
Yeah. I love the
If you
French.
want to say you enjoyed something, you say, was it ick? No, you see, I've forgotten that, right?
Ich is a good start. Es tut mir
You can
leid.
you can say S for parody, but that to me sounds French. It was in seventh heaven.
Yeah.
Ich war im siebten Himmel. That's right. That's in German. That's seventh heaven. I was in seventh heaven. Ich war im, that's right, I was. Siebten, that's seven, isn't it? Himmel.
Sieben
German.
is seven. Siebente is seventh.
And yet Himmel is an expletive, isn't it? Something they say in Himmel they're swearing.
Himmel is
heaven, isn't it?
Hell, I think. Gott in Himmel is God
maybe
in.
it is then,
God
yeah.
in
Ich
Himmel,
war
is
im
that hell?
siebten.
Heaven. It might be heaven actually.
I like it.
No idea.
I thought it was heaven. Ich war im,
It is heaven.
you're in seventh heaven. We do say it, don't we, sometimes? Probably in all
Yeah, it is Himmel.
things now.
Himmel is heaven. Yeah.
But you say that, Ich war im siebten Himmel.
But you only got that from your father,
Yeah.
presumably, if English was being spoken at home.
There's a German camp in Totnes, Priscilla's local town, where she is now in a little separate place. There's a market there, and she points out there was a German couple, and they're just selling Frankfurter sausages, not as you see them in Waitrose, skinny things, but bloody great fat thing, about inch and a half diameter. And she said,
Wurst.
"You've got Frankfurters." And she brought this thing out like a dirigible, you know, more like bloody,
Little skinny thing.
yeah.
Well, that's all
And
we
she
get
slopped.
here, Frankfurt. You know,
And I said, "Can I have any German mustard on it?" You know, I love that.
you'll be
German.
lucky if you can find German mustard because I can't.
No, you can't.
Senf.
We used to
Apart
get
from my delicatessen
yeah.
in
When we were
in-
kids, they used to come back from Germany with a tapered tumbler, tapered glass, with a metal cap on it, I suppose, like that, and that contained German mustard. And then when it was empty, of course, we had it. That's why I don't know if they're still around. If we've got any left in there, why we had these tapered glasses, glass tumbler, and this sort of said they had She asked them to give me a Frankfurter, and it was marvellous. And I said something about the German mustard, and she slopped a pile on it. And there, I'm trying to eat this there. I would like to have taken it in a quiet spot and got on with it, you know. I needed a scaffolding to hold the bloody thing, and I was covered in German all over my face trying to eat this. It was a beautiful sausage, wonderful.
Because we make
Yeah, when you-
sausages at home now.
And I tried out
So
the
I see.
what I'm doing this
Do you follow
laborious
that?
way. I did try out the German. I did say, ich war im siebten Himmel. But she didn't stir. She didn't, you know. But she's
Ich
got
war
silly old
im
fool. Ich war im
Siebente
siebten Himmel.
Siebente
I tried
Himmel.
it out on her.
Yeah. I've got a little of it, but I learnt a little French, a little German in school. But
She wasn't impressed. I thought she might have said, you know. And then I could say, I was born in Hamburg, in the Kolonnaden.
ich war
On the
in
banks.
Hamburg geboren.
Did you know that when, I mean, as these little stories that come up, you only hear them occasionally like that, you know, about our past, that when the English soldiers got near Hamburg, you know, in this war, I think it was probably this war, who was it? It would be Uncle Albert? Or Uncle Eddie? No, probably Uncle Eddie. No, it would be Uncle Albert, I think, was it? He got scared because he got a collection of antique weapons. Did you know about? You knew about that?
No, why would I? No.
You didn't know that?
No,
Antique weapons, you know,
I never knew Uncle Bert.
ball and gunpowder. I ask you, but he thought because they, you know, I suppose it was German policy then to make it sound as if if the English won, or the English or the Allies won, they'd be put into terrible torture and things, you know. That was Nazi policy, wasn't it? So in case the German people felt like, we don't want to go on with this war, what reason have we got to fight them? They'd have to say, they'll pull you to pieces and torture chambers, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So they'd have to make it sound.
You'd have to exaggerate.
Now, why am I telling you this? Now, see, this old age. Why am I going to put this up?
You're talking about Uncle Bert, who in the Second World War.
So that's
would
why
have
there
been-
was a fear.
he would have been-
Even all these civilized people, our family, our relatives, they would believe this and start believing and thinking something would happen to them. So Uncle Albert, having this, which I believe he was Dutch,
Ah,
he had
Voss.
this collection of weapons.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine it? Can you imagine anybody standing up with one of those old pistols or blunderbusses,
Yeah.
trying to keep against the army, you know? And so he threw them in the Ulster, in the river. So there must be, I mean, when I think about it now, and when I heard about it first, and I was interested in collecting weapons, I thought, oh, I bet they all be rusted away by now.
So which uncle
I'd
would
want
that
to
have been
send
then? What uncle would that be? Albert?
Albert, yeah.
Well,
Uncle
Voss.
Albert, yeah.
Voss.
Well, he would be Lentz,
Ah, right.
L-E-N-T-Z.
Oh, sorry, that's
Lentz.
Dolly's husband.
That's Dolly's husband, yeah.
Sorry, I'm with you
Uncle
now.
Albert.
That's Albert Julius Gustav Lentz. Okay, so
I don't know whether he was very British-minded. He might have sort of sat on the fence a bit, yeah. You know.
Well, the thing is, not everybody followed Hitler anyway, did they?
No.
You know, it's like in politics these days.
It's a terrible thing, yeah.
well, Gerhardt was a member of the Hitler Youth, but
Yes,
but he
But
would
they
have had
had
to
to
have
be.
been.
and I was told that
He couldn't say no, could he?
No.
he had a narrow escape. They were just about to send him to the Russian front. And how many came back from the Russian front? Hardly nobody, did they? Except the ones they found in camps.
Well, they were sending old men and young boys, weren't
Yeah.
they? Because they'd run out of soldiers. So.
Yeah.
But evidently he had a narrow escape. And you had Gerhardt here, didn't you? No. Where are we?
Did Gerhardt come here? I don't know. He has. I've met Gerhardt in England.
I'm being confronted with so many facts, so much family faces. Your sweet little face there, an old Tuffy here.
I think it was at your mum's
muscles.
golden wedding.
Possible, yes. It's possible.
Gerhardt and Helga came here,
Yes,
and
of course
Auntie-
it was good reminder.
Yeah.
and Auntie Dolly was here
Yeah.
with them, I suppose, to
Yeah.
keep them moral support. And she was very taken with I know it's here, with I'm sure that because of that door, the fact that Vary was small enough to keep coming through the door and back. She loved it.
I did dog door.
It's like a little childish door. You know that door you see for letting dogs.
Yeah, I
Do
did
they
dog-
not come in that way anymore?
No,
Why is that?
because I haven't got a dog door there now.
They're too big.
We've got a dog door in France, but it's only that big because
Yeah.
we've got 3 small dogs.
Yeah.
And they love it.
Yeah.
And they
Well, they
judge
get
it.
through
They
there,
wait for the
right?
flat. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So she was very taken with
We
it.
used to have one for the boxers in Harlington,
That's a
and the
big one.
times we came in with the door off and halfway down the garden because they chased each other down the garden.
Helga did come to England, to Kingsbury, on her own. And I've got a photograph of her. You know, I was at that stage there, very impressionable, like, wow, you know.
Well, I'm in touch with Martin Lentz. Martin Zenker.
I thought you said mince from her, but that was a lovely
Zenker.
one.
Do you know Martin, the Zenker family?
Lentz.
That's, he is the son of...
Oh yeah, I was going to go into that. I was going to say work that
Oh.
one off. Get Helga clear in our mind. She did come to Kingsbury, and reclined on the deck chair all the time. I think in the garden.
He's the grandson of Dolly.
Yeah. And then you had
The
you had her here
Zenker
Yeah.
family.
with Gerhardt, dear old Gerhardt. He was lovely.
He was.
I mean, anybody look upon him as a potential enemy. It's ridiculous, isn't
No,
it?
well, this is it. But
You try and tell
that's
that
the
to
problem with our family. We've got that crossover
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Germanic and...
But then you've got the tragedies. It would be Auntie Dolly's. There were 3 lots, weren't there? Oh, Gerhardt. There were the twins. Erica.
That's it,
I can't
Erica.
remember what the other one was.
His mother was Erica.
And something happened tragically to them, didn't they? Did she have children? I think she had children. But didn't she die young? Erica. I love that name, Erica. It's a nice name.
No,
You got Eric and you got Erica.
it's too far for me to have
Yeah,
gone.
I
It's too distant.
recognise the name.
It's not
but
in the bloodline, so I haven't followed it.
No.
But I have kept in touch with Martin Senk. I think his mother was Erica, but I didn't think she only died fairly recently.
But there must be children surviving from Erica
Yeah.
and whoever was.
And
I can't remember.
Christoph, we've got Christoph. Christopher
I don't
is
remember
one
any
of
of
the
that.
children.
Yeah.
So. But you wouldn't because they're so removed, why would
Yeah.
you? You haven't had the contact.
When I decided I'd link up with these things again, and I went, you know, there was only Mum around,
I'll try and put
and Mum
a...
was amazed, you
a
know.
tree together.
I couldn't take Mum with me to
It's a limit to
Hamburg.
how much I can recall.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you go...
How
off
far do you
dis-
go?
Yeah,
you
with
know,
different
and-
covens. I mean, I just try to do the blood relative
Yeah.
side, which is where I've gone with this DNA that we were going to talk about. So I've followed my Jeffcott line father to father to father, but I've also done the one that a lot of people do now. You can get it for Christmas, 23andMe, you know, 60 odd pounds or something, and
Yeah.
you can find out all sorts of stuff.
But I have to keep gabbling on in case there's something you don't know, you see. And when I went to visit, when I decided at last to link up and bring the past to life, and I took the HMS, what do you call it, Hamlet thing across the North Sea, and it was just
Hamburg.
Auntie Dolly on her own.
Yeah.
There were two, Hamlet and the Orf something or other. Yeah, anyway, I enjoyed that.
Because,
And I travelled at night, didn't I? That's right.
yeah,
And
I used to take the motorcycle across and
Yeah.
then
And there was
drive
nobody-
down
Oh, you
to
did?
France
Yeah.
and come across that way. It's lovely.
I had the whole
drive.
bunk, the last time I came back from there, it was very rough sea. And I think I did tell you something about that.
You
I had
went-
the whole downstairs cabin to myself. I thought I was travelling cheap as possible. There wasn't another soul in there.
You didn't have
And the
much
toilet
choice,
door
did you?
there kept bang, 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 bang.
So did you go to Hamburg, back to where you lived? Where
I
you
did,
were
yeah.
born?
I went up, and I say, but in this particular trip, I'd go up on deck, and not a soul around, and I could see this red light on starboard there, and out like that, and then it was like this, you know. And I only then realised just how much the boat was going up and
How
down.
much it moves.
Anyway, I went to see Dolly, and she was on her own, of course, and I was in my element. I was just the right age to go and see it, that, you know. I was young, good looking, dark hair.
So did the house
looking
survive the
smart,
bombing?
tidy, not scruffy now. What's that?
Did the house survive the bombing during the Second World War?
Yes.
So it's
Wait a
still-
minute, no, wait a minute. She wasn't in the family. I don't think she
No,
was in the
no,
family
she wouldn't
home.
be in the
then.
family home,
She was in a
she-
more of a modern place. I have got a lot of photographs. Oh, the stuff I can bring to you. Yeah. Anyway, you know, I stayed with her, and she took me around, and obviously we went to the Colonnaden, and we went down there, and you
Which
could
was
call
where
it-
you
we
were
never,
born.
we didn't go to the house itself. It had been occupied. But all I remember, it's somewhere about the third floor.
So it still exists then?
I think it did, yeah. It didn't
Well,
look
it's
as if it had
been
been
rebuilt.
bombed. It didn't have a new look about it, but all we could do was just point up there. The fact remains that I'd been down there. I could say I was within a few yards of where I'd been born. And I just remember Mary saying she remembers being woken to see me being born. It was at 3 o'clock. And whenever I wake at 3 o'clock now, I think there's some reason for that. I'm going to die at 3 o'clock, you know. 3 a.m., you
Well, don't
know.
they say you're the liveliest
And now I
at
get
the
up
time
and
that you were
I go up
born?
and get a cup of coffee, and I sit in the dark there, and I enjoy it, and I think, thank the Lord, I'm on my own. Because you couldn't do it if the lady.
So
just
what was your earliest memory then? Thinking back, what do you remember? It wasn't a bottom, was it? Presumably it
It could have been.
was... No.
Don't go there. Don't go there.
No, don't go.
What was that? I can remember cutting my finger and wrapping it around with brown paper because I was scared. I was scared of getting in trouble to cut my
You've been
finger.
doing something
Blood
you
pouring
shouldn't
out.
have.
And I wrapped it around with brown paper. Can you imagine that? I can remember that, and I can remember being on Gallywood Track because we must have spent some time before Dad could get a home somewhere because he was still in the army. So Gran, wait a minute.
Ellen.
No, I just think it's not your mother. No, my mother must have stayed with Ellen Bowley in those early days. But weren't they at a place called Pierce's? What is Pierce's? I think there was another home somewhere before they came to Gallywood. When you think of that isolated place right down the end of a track. Pierce's, there's something in the history, a place called Pierce's. Like they say Downton Abbey now, or something's just called by its one single name. Pierce's.
I don't know what Mum says about it.
Probably a farm or something that you say if they were
Well, it was Gallywood Farm was where you were. Tom Barley was.
I can understand this difficulty, of our people, trying to remember names. And I'm trying to think now which is which. Whose is the mother of what?
We've got Tom Bowley was the head with Ellen. He was an ordinary farm worker. This is in 1901.
He had been an ostler. Didn't you
Yeah.
get me a birth
Yes,
certificate?
yes, he was an ostler. I can't make that out because I've got contact lenses on. How's your eyes close up?
He'd been a yeoman. Did they describe him as a yeoman or a ploughman?
Well, he was several things. If you can get that address there, that's 1901.
And of course, we had bouts of drunkenness. He probably lost his job a few times. But I never had a conversation with him. He was just pleased. I take him tobacco. Bluebell, was it called Bluebell?
But that's Tidcombe, isn't it? That's Tidcombe.
But I do have one of the
No,
crimes.
I can't see.
Glasses on.
One of the crimes which I am sorry in my life, I feel I've been a sinner, but there are probably things other people scoff off. One of the things which I am sorry is that one Christmas
Trouble is because writing has changed so
he
much.
stayed with us. It's all right. And now I'm thinking, I don't have to say this several times. He was staying with us, and I was into going to Hamleys, because I was in Regent Street Polytechnic, and along that street was Hamleys with a toy. And there was a trick glass. I may have told you this. Do you want to know this? Do you? No, you don't know.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
it's the
I-
trouble. I don't have to tell her later. No. There was a tumbler with a full spot on it.
I don't know.
And he looks at it, it's full of beer. It was a standard size, but of course it was how they blew it, it was like an inner lining, and the coloured liquid in there looked like beer, just filled the outer double layer.
It's a trick glass.
It's Tidcomb's
Thick
village.
glass, yeah.
Tidcombe village?
Tidcombe
If you look
Village.
above,
Perhaps he would. I always think, I'm kidding myself, she'd be interested in that, but I don't
Jess,
think
if
she
you
would
look
be.
with
But
that.
this is on
Yeah,
my
probably
conscience.
is Tidcombe Village.
This is
yeah.
on my conscience, Jess, that I said, would you like a glass of beer, Grandad?
Oh dear, you gave him a trick mug. Yes.
Well, it was a tumbler.
Yeah.
But it looked like a glass of beer.
We used
And
to
he
have one.
Obviously agreed, and I gave it to him. And there he is, poor old blighter, trying to drink.
and there's nothing coming
There's
out.
nothing coming out. No.
Would you
You
like?
wouldn't remember that, would you?
No.
But it's on my conscience.
Well,
Whatever crimes he committed,
he'll get you when you get up there, mate.
Yeah, he's been waiting a long time.
you know, drove down the middle of the road. Auntie Dolly was petrified.
This is Uncle Billy.
Uncle Billy, yeah. And he got to the stage where he'd leave the gas on. That was the trouble. So he wasn't safe to be left. And we all do those things. So now I get a hold of myself. If I find I've forgotten something stupidly, you know, I do think of Uncle Billy. You don't be put in a home yet. But he got to that stage where he wasn't capable of looking after himself. And I remember them saying that they put him into a home, and almost immediately, they said, it was the way they described it, he turned his face to the wall and died. He just didn't want to live. And I'm sure I'd feel that way, you know. I'd rather survive crawling around the floor.
Well, it's losing your independence, isn't it?
Yeah. To
I
lose
can
your
always
independence.
remember it. Wasn't it a salmon pink car he had? Salmon pink orange?
Was it? I just remember him collecting and meeting us that last time
Must have been it.
and driving us to Greenford, and she was petrified.
Because
I remember seeing there's this
he worked
line
at
of
Rockware
rivets.
Glass, didn't he?
He what?
Uncle Billy worked at Rockware Glass.
That's right, yes.
Because my husband worked there as well when he was
and
young.
have you got the souvenir there? Who wants it? Do you remember that? At the coronation, did you know this, Jeff? At the coronation, you must have seen it somewhere there.
1953.
To commemorate the coronation, no, this would be the,
George V.
oh my God, the other one was it? The
1937.
more recent one, celebration.
Yes.
It was a novelty of Rockware Glass. They compressed a milk bottle. Do you remember that? And it's like a solid weight, about 3/4 inch thick. And it's got the initials.
I remember seeing that.
Have you got it? Well, I've got that now. Whoever wants it.
I remember seeing it, but
I've got a watch I think Una would have anything like that. So I've got to be careful. I'd like to be able to distribute
Oh,
it.
Una loves memorabilia.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that.
But she did
It would be
pass
safe with
over.
her. It would be safe with her.
They what?
It would be safe with her.
Oh yes, I'm sure. But she did pass, I don't know why, she did pass over to me the bundle of fans. You know, fans like that. I don't know why she didn't hang on to those. And I did go so far as to give one, only a small one, to Valerie's mother, because I thought in Spain, you know, and I see her doing these little...
I always take one with me when we
I'm
go
very
to
pleased to have
Australia.
it. But the rest of them are there, and one of them, do you remember, I don't know if you ever saw it, is cut out. It was cut out of balsa wood, terribly delicate. You know, you imagine. You wouldn't really whack it around, you know.
They were there to come.
I don't know why
to
she's passed them to
Yes.
me.
So that men. So that
But I've
men
got so
would
many
be-
things here.
That's right.
I do not want it put in the test. Oh God. I didn't want it put in the skip. I mean, this is what Christopher said he would do. And he said there was so much stuff.
Well, when you're thinking of going, Tom, in about
Let
10
us
years'
know.
time, I'll bring a trailer
Yeah.
over, okay?
No, but really, I also distribute it now. It's the books. I've got so many books. Somebody said I'm interested in such and something. It'd be a joy to know someone to go on reading that. And if
Right.
my name's on the inside.
Let's
they'll
have some
remember
more
it.
from Mum, shall we?
What?
Let's have some more from Mum. When Hilda and I went to school at Oxenwood, a small village, the boys used to call after us German sausage. We were too young to understand the prejudice.
Yeah.
After all, Mum was a Berkshire Wiltshire lass, so it was very silly. And Dad was Lincoln born, so there was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lincoln
Animals.
born. Yeah.
I think this card I had at his granny's was a Lincoln salon. I'll have to hunt that out.
But Voss is not necessarily a German name. It's quite common in England.
No, that's right.
Yeah, because so many came across
And there's
here.
so many in America. And you'll find whatever Christian name you've got and the surname, it's multiplied in America. The number of Thomas Edward Vosses. Not just Thomas Voss, Thomas Edward Vosses. I think what made them put those things together? I can understand in my case because my grandfather was Tom. You know.
So I've got an early memory eating egg sandwiches with black pepper on, plus sand, on the beach at Schönholz.
Who? What was the second one? The black pepper. Dad was a gourmet. In his way. He loved if he did go to Germany, coming back with something. And he was remember he was fascinated with those tiny little salt
grinders,
cellars.
yes, yeah.
And of course they all got broken. Do you remember those things?
Everything
I
had to
only
have.
left it.
Everything
Yeah.
had
They're only
to
an
have.
inch tall and about 5/8 of an inch wide, yeah. I'm not
I
talking
like black pepper as well. So.
Yeah, 'cause he loved that, and he was the first one to bring black pepper into the family. Yeah.
So this is Schönholz in the
What-
Tinnendorf on the
What was
Baltic
that?
coast.
Sure.
Schönholz I've got here.
Not Scharnhorst.
No, Schön, that's in beautiful. Schönholz on Tinnendorf on the Baltic coast.
Oh, where you say? Ah, wait a minute.
I remember
Steady
the
on.
basket double seats,
Oh yes, yes.
which are
No,
preserved
no, no.
now and highly prized.
Do you want a postcard of that? Did I give you a
No,
postcard? Get a copy. Oh yeah.
also
No, Scharbeutz.
Yeah.
Scharbeutz. That's what it's called. What have you written there?
Well,
Is it written
she's
as
written
Scharbeutz?
Schönholz.
Scharbeutz.
Oh no, that's definitely different.
And I'd have
She's got
thought I had-
Schön, that's in beautiful.
I stayed there with her.
So Schön.
Oh no, she took me there.
Yeah.
And that's where, of course, naturally, you see, I wanted to get one for Priscilla. But then she's daft enough to give it to her youngest daughter. If she asked for something, Priscilla would give it to her. That's why I hate her guts. Yeah.